Picture this for a second, because I almost guarantee everyone watching has felt this exact tension in their chest before. You're driving to work, maybe already a few minutes late. When that check engine light suddenly turns on, your stomach drops. You already know what it means. Somewhere in the back of your mind, you're doing the math. Fixing it now might cost $300. Not ideal, but manageable in a normal world. Then you check your bank account and reality hits you in the face. $42. That's all you have until Friday. So you make a choice that feels small in the moment but massive in hindsight. You ignore it. You turn the radio up to drown out the strange noise. You convince yourself it can wait. You hope nothing else goes wrong. 2 months later, that hope runs out. The car finally dies on the side of the highway. Now you need a tow truck, which costs $200. The small issue you ignored has now destroyed something much bigger. And suddenly the repair bill isn't $300 anymore, it's $2,000. On top of that, you miss work because you can't get there, losing another $300 in wages. That original $300 problem has quietly turned into a $2,500 financial disaster. This isn't bad luck. This isn't irresponsibility. This is math. This is the very real, measurable cost of being broke at the wrong moment. My name is Bill, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time thinking about the hidden mechanics of money and the invisible equations that quietly keep most people stuck. If you feel like you're working harder every single year, but your bank balance never seems to move, or if you live with the constant anxiety that one random bad Tuesday could wipe out your entire financial year, then you already understand this problem on a gut level. And today, we are not talking about stocks, crypto, or any fantasy about getting rich overnight. We are talking about something far more uncomfortable and far more important. We are talking about why being broke is actually one of the most expensive conditions a human being can live in. Here's the part that most financial advice gets completely wrong. You're told that wealth is just discipline and poverty is just bad habits. Stop buying coffee. Cancel Netflix. Track every penny. As if saving $12 a month is going to magically undo years of structural pressure. That advice ignores a fundamental economic reality known as the Boots theory of socioeconomic unfairness. It comes from a character named Sam Vims in a Terry Pratchett novel. And ironically, it explains inequality more clearly than most academic papers ever will. The idea is brutally simple. A wealthy man buys a $50 pair of boots made from quality leather, stitched properly, built to last. Those boots last him 10 years. A poor man can't afford $50. He only has 10. So he buys the cheap boots that fall apart after one winter. The next year, he buys another $10 pair. And the year after that. Over 10 years, the poor man has spent $100 on boots, double what the rich man spent, and he still has wet feet. The rich man is dry, comfortable, and $50 ahead. This is the math of being poor. You are forced to pay more precisely because you have less. And before you brush this off as some old metaphor that doesn't apply anymore, look around your own life. This pattern is everywhere. Take something as boring and unglamorous as toilet paper. If you have $50 available, you go to a warehouse store and buy in bulk. The cost per roll drops dramatically. You're set for months. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have $50 to park in toilet paper. You have 4. So you go to the corner store and buy a small pack at triple the price per roll. Same product, same paper, completely different cost. That difference isn't convenience. It's the poverty premium. This premium applies to almost everything. Laundry detergent, cleaning supplies, diapers, especially diapers. If you're broke, your personal inflation rate is actually higher than a wealthy person's inflation rate. Because you're permanently locked out of bulk pricing and long-term savings. You're forced to make short-term decisions that cost more over time. And this is where things stop being annoying and start becoming genuinely unfair. Because the system isn't neutral. It actively punishes you for being short on cash. Now let's talk about the place where this penalty becomes impossible to ignore. The banking system. Because this is where the math stops being abstract and starts feeling personal. If you have $10,000 sitting in your checking account, the bank treats you like a VIP. No monthly fees. No stress. Maybe even a tiny bit of interest if you're lucky. The system bends around you. But if you're struggling, if you have $20 in your account, the rules flip instantly. A forgotten subscription hits for $25. You're $5 short. And instead of support, the bank slams you with a $35 overdraft fee. Think about that for a second. You effectively borrowed $5 for less than a day and paid $35 for it. That's an interest rate so extreme it would be illegal anywhere else. If a loan shark did that, they'd be in prison. When a bank does it, it's called a fee. Last year alone, banks made billions of dollars from overdraft charges, almost entirely from people with less than $1,000 to their name. The rich earn interest. The poor pay interest. It's a quiet transfer of wealth from the bottom to the top, hidden behind fine print and polite customer service language. And I know the common response. Just don't spend money you don't have. In theory, that sounds reasonable. In reality, it ignores how the human brain actually works under pressure. There's a concept in psychology called scarcity mindset. When you are genuinely stressed about money, when rent is looming and you don't know how you're going to cover it, your cognitive capacity drops. Studies show your effective IQ can fall by more than 10 points. Your brain is so focused on survival that long-term thinking becomes almost impossible. This is why people in financial stress make decisions that look irrational from the outside. Payday loans, late fees, fast food instead of groceries. It's not stupidity. It's bandwidth overload. The boots theory isn't just about money. It's about mental energy. The person who can afford the good boots doesn't just save money. They save attention. They don't have to think about replacing them every year. That mental space can be used to plan, invest, learn, or rest. Meanwhile, the person trapped in cheap replacements lives in a constant low-level panic, always reacting, never building. This is how poverty compounds itself. Let's zoom out and apply this to something bigger, like transportation. In most of the United States, you need a car to survive. A financially stable person buys a reliable used Toyota or Honda, maybe 3 years old. They pay cash or get a low-interest loan. The car runs for a decade with basic maintenance. Total cost stays low. Now compare that to someone with bad credit and no savings. They still need a car to get to work, so they go to a buy here pay here dealership. They're sold a high-mileage car worth $4,000 for $8,000, financed at 24% interest over the life of the loan. They might pay $15,000 for a car that barely survives the loan term. When it breaks down, they're still making payments on something that no longer runs. This is the poverty trap in high definition. You're not just paying for the product. You're paying a risk premium because the system has labeled you risky. And the cruel irony is that the only way to stop being risky is to already have money. Money you can't save because you're paying the premium. The cycle feeds itself. And we haven't even touched housing yet. Renting versus owning is the ultimate boots theory example. When you rent, you're paying 100% interest. You build no equity. You're covering your landlord's mortgage plus their profit. But to buy a home, you need a down payment. $10,000, $20,000. If rent eats half your income, saving that down payment becomes impossible. So you stay trapped paying $2,000 a month for an apartment that would cost $1,200 if you owned it. The wealthy buy assets that reduce their monthly costs and grow in value. The poor pay more each month for something they will never own. Being poor is expensive because you are renting your entire existence. But there's another cost people rarely talk about: time. If you have a washer and dryer at home, laundry takes minutes of effort. If you rely on a laundromat, it costs you hours. Hours you could be working, resting, or learning. If you live in a food desert, you don't have access to cheap groceries. You pay higher prices or spend extra time and money traveling. When you don't have money, everything takes longer. Every task has friction. And time, just like money, compounds. When poverty steals your time, it steals your future earning potential along with it. Now this is usually the moment where people start to feel hopeless. You hear all of this and think, so what? The system is rigged and I'm just stuck here forever? And I get that reaction. This isn't uplifting content. But understanding the math is the only way to escape it. Ignoring it doesn't protect you. It just keeps you playing a game you don't understand. The goal here isn't to get angry at yourself. It's to get angry at the penalties. Most traditional financial advice tells you to invest in the stock market and aim for an 8% return. But if you're broke, that advice is backwards. The best investment you can make isn't the S&P 500. It's eliminating the penalties that are charging you 20, 30, even 400% in hidden interest. If you have credit card debt at 20%, paying it off is a guaranteed 20% return. There is no hedge fund on earth that can promise you that. If you buy a $50 toaster that lasts 10 years, instead of replacing a $10 one every year, that's not spending. That's investing. The first real step out of the boots theory trap isn't getting rich. It's stopping the bleeding. And this is where the most boring piece of advice suddenly becomes the most powerful weapon you have. The buffer, that first emergency fund, that initial $1,000, is not about peace of mind. It's about leverage. When you have a buffer, problems stop escalating. A flat tire becomes annoying instead of catastrophic. A medical bill doesn't force you into a payday loan. That small pile of cash allows you to make rational decisions instead of desperate ones. Here's the part most people miss. Having money saved actually lowers your monthly expenses. With a buffer, you can raise your insurance deductible and reduce your premium. You can avoid overdraft fees. You can buy in bulk. You can fix small issues before they turn into disasters. That first $1,000 changes the physics of your life. It shifts you from constant defense to slow, steady offense. This is also where psychology tries to sabotage you. When you finally have a little extra cash, the urge is to reward yourself. You've been deprived for so long that spending feels like breathing. A nice dinner, new clothes, something that makes you feel normal for a moment. But if you use that money to eliminate a future cost instead, you're buying freedom. Fixing the cavity before it becomes a root canal. Replacing the worn tires before they blow out. Buying the boots that last. You're paying the poor tax one final time so you never have to pay it again. You have to change the question from can I afford the monthly payment to what is the total cost of ownership? Companies want you focused on the monthly number because it hides the truth. You need to look at the lifetime cost. The system relies on you not doing this math. Late fees, convenience fees, subscriptions you forget about, disposable products that need constant replacing. When you start making decisions through the lens of the boots theory, you become a terrible customer for them and an excellent CFO for your own life. So here's the practical move. Audit your life for poverty penalties. Find the place where being broke is costing you the most. Maybe it's high-interest debt. Maybe it's a car that keeps breaking down. Maybe it's rent that's swallowing your income. Pick one. Then cut everything else as aggressively as you can until you have the cash to plug that leak. If you need $500 to fix a car issue that's bleeding money every month, selling old stuff or working a weekend gig isn't hustling. It's a strategic strike against future expenses. This path isn't fair. Getting from $0 to $10,000 is brutally hard. The wind is in your face the entire time. But once you understand that poverty is a mathematical penalty, not a personal failure, something shifts. You stop blaming yourself and start attacking the system where it's weakest. You buy things that last. You build a buffer. You gain the ability to say no to bad loans and bad deals. And slowly, almost quietly, you walk out of the hole. If this made you realize you've been paying the poverty premium without even knowing it, share it with someone who needs to hear it. We talk about success all the time, but almost never about the traps. And if you want more breakdowns like this, hit subscribe. We are going to keep exposing these hidden mechanics until more people get to wear the boots that actually last.